I understand it's intimidating and there are 100 different things a day you should be doing. But if you can keep your eye on the ball and you're not afraid to build a team around you, I think anyone can sort of achieve what they want. There will be missteps, but they're always learning experiences. Every single one of them.
It is hard to trust, right? Like where you're like, here's literally the concept and now I need you to go create it. And if you don't do it well, it's going to fail, right? So it's just like you have to have the right people around you. The vision and bringing something to life when it's like you can see so clearly, but being able to translate that vision, to trust others, to help to really do it is a totally other, ball game. Welcome to the She Believes She Could podcast. I'm your host, Allison Walsh. Since 2020, this show has inspired thousands of women around the world to believe in themselves and take bold action toward the lives they're meant to live. Each episode brings you powerful conversations and practical strategies to strengthen your mindset, build your confidence and brand, grow your business, and protect your well-being, all while spotlighting stories of women who are making a difference and changing the world in their own way. I am so glad you're here. Now let's get to work.
For the women who do it all, and then do a little more. We're here for you. At Advent Health for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
Today's guest is incredibly impressive. Rebecca Matchett is a serial entrepreneur and co-founder of Alice Olivia with a background in building innovative fashion and tech brands like TrioFit. Now she's launching Synchrony, the first AI-guided social platform built specifically for neurodivergent adults seeking real connection and community. Her work blends empathy with innovation, solving problems most industries overlook. Rebecca brings a rare mix of business acumen and heart to every venture. I am so excited for you to learn from her today. And a quick reminder, please make sure that you've subscribed to the show on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. And of course, follow along on Instagram. We've got amazing resources for you, and we don't want you to miss out. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Well, Rebecca, I am so excited to have you on our show today. You are an absolute powerhouse and a dream guest for our audience to learn from. But would you mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself with our audience before we jump in?
Absolutely. My name is Rebecca Matchett, and I'm what you sort of consider a serial entrepreneur. I've had many different lives in business, most of them focused in fashion. I have recently made the transition, or I guess it's been a year and a half now, to building an app for neurodivergent adults. And I'm a co-founder and COO in this new role with Synchrony.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit. I cannot wait to unpack just that whole experience and what that's been like to build something. And of course, so mission driven. But can you share a little bit more with our audience about your fashion background and business background and everything that you've accomplished thus far?
Absolutely. It's a bit of an untraditional approach, which I think is oftentimes brings sort of a freshness to what I, try to pursue. So fashion began with the company Alice Olivia. I co-founded it with a friend from college. And, at the time, we were trying to differentiate ourselves through pants. Doesn't sound like something that's really innovative, but we made them out of upholstery materials. And that was our differentiator. We learned a lot of lessons because had zero background in business, in fashion, in manufacturing, in anything. But I think that sort of propelled us into that space and the absurdity of using upholstery materials. And from there, sold part of that company. I'm still a silent partner there, and created a company called TrioFit. TrioFit was a patent for women's sizing. So we actually sized women's clothing by bra size and height, trying to provide that close to custom fit that men enjoy with neck size and arm length for their work attire. So that was a real problem solver for women with big breasts, small waists. Everybody's proportions are different. And there really wasn't a great solution out there for tailored garments for women. So we created this patent and showcased it in a number of different clothing labels. And at the high end through Neiman's, at the low end through HSN. Ended up creating a line of perfect white shirts for InStyle magazine. And so that ran its course for many years. And then over the pandemic and through some personal health issues, I sort of stepped back from that and was sort of just waiting for the next step. I knew I still had to work for myself. I could not go back to corporate America where I started my career in advertising. So that was the one clear-cut objective, but really also just something that was worth my time at this phase in my life, and with 3 children who are all over the place and me wanting to be very present for them. And so it was something that I knew would have to legitimize me taking my time away from family. And I didn't know what that was going to be, actually. I'd spoken to many different people and friends who were pitching ideas, and none of it really resonated. I didn't know what I was looking for, and it turned out it was Synchrony. And it turned out it was this unbelievable opportunity to provide a solution for a major gap in the marketplace to address isolation in the neurodivergent adult community, which is an absolutely huge gaping hole, and something that needs to be addressed and addressed properly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad that you landed on something like this. And so many of the women that listen to our show are so mission driven, myself included. And when you can feel like you can contribute to solving the problem for people, and that's really been a through line for everything that you've done, even on the fashion side, right? Of like, let's make things fit. Let's make people feel good. Let's make sure that they're comfortable and they feel amazing. But like now you get to do this and really help solve that isolation, that loneliness epidemic for a portion of the population that is so significant. So curious though, like share with us, like, what has that been like? An app is a whole other business model for you. So what have you learned? What have you enjoyed? What have been the challenges as you've been working to stand all of this up?
Yeah, I think one of actually the consistent threads through all of my businesses have been that I have no experience in any of it. I didn't have any business experience with Allison Olivia. I didn't know what it took to create this technical patent for TrioFit. And I certainly have no experience in app development. And so this is certainly my biggest challenge yet, because it's with the neurodivergent community, which I have no background in. It's in app development, which I have no background in. But I do have the ability to sort of envision how to fill a hole in the market and how to approach it and to build my team around me. So there have been several challenges. I would say the top 2, one would be, I see the opportunity for this business to go in so many different directions. And I need to be able to focus by doing one step before the next and perfecting whatever that first step is, which is this app development and creating this chat feature with AI assistance, perfecting that before we're able to expand into helping the community in other ways. So I would say certainly that technical app building, my lack of experience there is number 2. I had to trust third party to create the app. And as someone who understands like all of the different things that need to fall into place for a business to get off the ground, that's a huge leap of faith. And, that's definitely, I would say, the second biggest challenge.
Yeah, it is hard to trust, right? Like where you're like, here's literally the concept and now I need you to go create it. And if you don't do it well, it's going to fail, right? So it's just like you have to have the right people around you. And I'll share with our listeners and with you too, during the pandemic, I worked in behavioral health for 15 years, and we stood up a mental health app. And again, kind of doing things that hadn't been done in ways they hadn't been done yet, but was such a grave need. So our business model prior to the pandemic was all brick and mortar treatment facilities. And so, when all of a sudden thousands of people that need access to care can't get access to care, and it's only a rising issue because of all of the, additional challenges that came with it, we swiftly moved to go to market with app development and stand up. It was called Nobu. But we were working, we built it on Salesforce. So they were like fascinated with the fact that we were able to do this. But we had to involve other people outside of the company as it stood. And, the vision and bringing something to life when it's like you can see so clearly, but being able to translate that vision, to trust others, to help to really do it is a totally other, ball game. But ultimately, long story short, it went to market. It did great. We helped a lot of people and it got plugged into our just system of care. But it's, I love that you said like you didn't know how to do any of the things that you ended up doing, but you trusted yourself enough to take that next step.
For the women who do it all and then do a little more. We're here for you. At Advent Health for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
So for those that are listening, what would you say to them? Because that's not necessarily intuitive and that's scary, but you also build confidence as you do it. So you had proof of concept after doing it a couple times in other industries. But what advice would you give for somebody listening that's like, wow, like she's literally like done this multiple times and I'm struggling just to get out of my own head and take the first step? What would be your advice for them?
Yeah, I actually think there's some benefit to not having prior experience in what you're trying to do in terms of being able to lay fresh eyes on things and come at them from a different perspective. And I remember when I was starting my first company and I had just started dating my now husband, and he was a Harvard Business School grad and he worked in business and this and that. And he was asking me for my business plan and my financial models and my projections and my, all of these questions. And I was saying, we're making pants that people want, I don't know what to say. And it took off and it was a success. And it was an unproven concept with, these upholstery materials, and they did end up shredding and notwithstanding proper care. However, it got us into the market from a totally unexpected angle. And so I think that the idea of what we're doing right now is we certainly understand the deep need and where that lies and how and how we would, like to address it. But the where and the sort of the timing of what we're doing and the approach that we're taking, I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's standard, but I know that it's working right now for us. And I know it's getting us to where we want to be. So, if you have a mission-driven idea, that is number 1, 2, and 3 to me, right? You find out ways to make it happen. And I wouldn't necessarily look 6 months even down the road. I would look a month down the road or a week, or what do I have to do today to get to tomorrow? And by putting one foot in front of the other, all of a sudden you are at that 6-month mark or that 12-month mark. So I understand it's intimidating and there are 100 different things a day you should be doing as, when you're starting a company. But if you can keep your eye on the ball and you're not afraid to build a team around you and you're not afraid to sort of, phone a friend for that advice, I don't think that, I think anyone can sort of achieve what they want. There will be missteps, but they're always learning experiences, every single one of them. If you're able to take it as, okay, maybe that wasn't the most efficient way to get to point B, or maybe next time I'll do it a little bit differently. That's great. It's like life. Like none of us have any of this figured out. We're doing the best we can and we celebrate the successes and try to build off of those, and we learn from our mistakes. And so I just don't think there's a clear-cut way to the end. And I think a lot of it depends on certainly your experience, but what's your financial situation? How much time can you apply to this concept? What is the market environment like? So I just don't think there's a one size fits all.
Yeah. Great advice too. It's like, keep the main thing, like stay true to the why and the mission and allow that to be like what motivates you on the days that feel more challenging or, that there's a hurdle in front of you. And you're not going to have it all figured out when you start. You're going to figure it out after you started, right? You have to start to be able to figure it out. And especially when you're entering into a space that somebody hasn't done it before, there's no business model to look at like what success left clues this time. It's more so like you got to figure it out. You just got to do the thing and, continue to evaluate and say like, was this efficient? Was this productive? Can we do this better next time? And to your point, you learn with everything. And that to me is like, I get excited about the learning experience. And I think when my mindset shifted from like, it has to be perfect to no, it needs to be done. And we're going to reflect and learn from it so we can do it better the next time. And that 1% better mentality, that like changed everything for me. Have you had any experiences like that over the course of your career where you really recognized that it didn't have to be perfect?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we can all get into this sort of like analysis paralysis and you just don't move forward. And you do have to sort of feel comfort in that uncertainty or in that misstep. And I think, with my last company, TrioFit, I think I learned a huge lesson in the fact that we wanted to be everything for everyone. We wanted to be able to fit every single woman's body. And that was our mission, right? It was, you are perfect how you are. The problem isn't your body. The problem is how clothing is made right now. So let's try to solve the problem for everybody. We don't want pulling buttons. We don't want sagging waist. We want everything to fit for everybody. That was not necessarily the right approach. We should have gone directly to where the biggest problem was and who was suffering the most from ill-fitting clothing. But you know what? We just did it. We just had to launch. We wanted to get out there. We wanted to get our name out there. We knew we were solving a problem and filling a gap. And, after we sort of learned, okay, we have a lot of SKUs on hands. We have a lot of inventory we need to get through with all this size variation for so many different body types. Then we realized, okay, let's scale back, right? We don't need to be everything to everybody. And, I think we learned and we moved on and we were able to adjust. And, we wouldn't have gotten there without sort of going through that process.
Absolutely. Great advice. But let's turn the conversation now to everything that you're building with Synchrony. Like I'm so curious. So who's going to be served best? You said adults, right? Neurodivergent adults is really who this is designed for. And what is it going to be like? Talk us through just the user experience.
Exactly. So we are creating a social app that will have an incredible chat feature and be AI assisted. So as a sort of buddy that's there to support you in your conversations, decode maybe miscommunications, gives conversation starters. So as a neurodivergent adult who might have trouble meeting people socially, they will log on to Synchrony. In order to set up your profile, we do require a referral. So that referral could be any trusted adult, a therapist, a doctor, a parent, a friend, anyone who can verify that you are proper fit for our community. And once they verify that, you set up your profile, you list all of your interests. We have hundreds of options to choose from, whether you're into gaming or makeup or sports or horseback riding or whatever it is. And then we use an algorithm to match you with other people with similar interests. And you decide, I'm only interested in meeting people of the same gender, different gender. I'm interested in friendship. I'm interested in just connecting online, anything. And then you're connected and they become your sync mate. And you engage in this chat feature where you just message back and forth. And our AI chat assist named Jessie. Jessie aids, as I said, in conversation starters or decoding miscommunications or anything that you might have and that will get in the way of you creating these long-lasting, independent relationships with your sync mates. And so it's geared towards filling the gap of combating isolation in this community, which is a really, really big problem, right? And there's a lot of resources that are available in terms of housing and employment for neurodivergent adults, but this social component has been kind of left by the wayside. And as anyone knows, that social component of all of our lives is so critical to our happiness and to our success in any other area of life. So we're really trying to address that need.
Yeah, quality of your life is based on the quality of the relationships, right? And so you're really able to facilitate and foster meaningful ones.
Absolutely. And it's also something that we are very excited to sort of help the support systems of these adults, because the families and the parents who, watch their children who are now adults, let's say, continue to struggle with these lack of social connections, it's something that we really want to provide these families as well. Just say, we've got you. You used to have to spend many, many hours helping your neurodivergent adult make connections and plans, and now look at them. They're doing this independently and are completely fulfilled. And so we do feel that we are serving sort of that 360-degree community around our members.
Yeah, that's huge. So I'm super excited for you and for this launch. So if people are interested or have somebody in mind that they think would be, really benefiting from this, where should they go? I think there's a wait list that you've got created now.
There is, because we're not launching until very late January, maybe the first week of February. And so in the interim, we would love everyone to follow us on Synchrony app, which is available across all of the socials. And then our website is joinsynchrony.com, and that's where you can sign up for the waiting list and be notified once we're ready for launch.
Awesome. I love that you've done this. Thank you so much for just, moving on a concept that could easily have just been a passing thought, but you're making a difference and you're doing the thing, and you're now going to create just a better quality of life for so many people. So thank you for doing that and sharing your gifts with the world.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And before we wrap, we have one question we'd love to ask everybody. I'm curious, what does confidence mean to you?
Confidence to me means being able to move forward when you're not exactly sure what that path looks like or what the end result will look like. And just knowing that you are going to put one foot in front of the other and get yourself there.
Well, that certainly tracks with your journey. So that makes perfect sense. And thank you for sharing the contact information for Synchrony. Is there a place that we should follow you, find you, and support you too, Rebecca?
Oh, thank you. Just through all of those social apps would be perfection for me.
Excellent. Love that. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I am so grateful that you are here. As always, please continue the conversation over on Instagram at Allison Walsh, and make sure that you check out all of our freebies. If you scan the QR code, if you're watching on YouTube, or check out the link in the show notes, it will take you to a page full of resources and trainings and things to help you go farther, faster. And that is always my intention, is to help you continue to grow. And as always, I believe in you 1000%, and my goal is that you do too. Take care, beautiful. I'll see you next time.